I'm your host, Sean Aaron, and welcome to Them Boys Inc. podcast. This show is a platform where trans men of color voices can be amplified as we share our transitional stories and many other issues that are relatable to trans men of color and our existence. This show is not only to amplify our voices, but to raise awareness and conversation around our lived experiences.
My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is Kris Wallace. Within this episode, we talked about growing up in the 60s, what it means to be a trans elder. We talked about family history, maternal support, love, and we also talked a lot about faith and forgiveness. This is a really good episode. I hope you enjoy. Hey, this is Sean Aaron, the host of Them Boys podcast. Are you enjoying the podcast so far? Great. I'm glad that you are. Would you consider donating today to help support the continuation of this podcast? As you know, this podcast aims to serve as a platform to highlight and amplify the voices of trans men of color and share our transition stories. The podcast not only aims to amplify trans men of color voices, but it also raises awareness around our lived experiences. You would like to donate? Where can you donate? Great. I'm glad that you asked. Link in our description will take you directly to Network for Good, whom we've partnered with in order to collect donations for the podcast. Or you can visit our website. On the website, click the donate button, and from there, you are able to donate directly to the podcast. All donations are tax deductible. What does the donations go to? Oh, I'm glad that you asked. Your donation will help to support our production costs. We are working with Jasmine from Pink Lady Productions that brings you this awesome content. And also, we pay our guests an honorarium. Pay our guests an honorarium? Yes, we do. Why? Because as trans men of color, we would like to support and uplift each other and honor the time that's given out to come here and share their stories. So if you love this podcast, share and donate. See you on the next episode. Take care. Welcome to Them Boys podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his, and my next guest is an honor. Kris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's glad to be on the show.
Yeah, how you doing today, Kris?
Man, I'm wonderful, blessed, and highly favored. Just to be another day. At 56 years old, I know it don't look like that, but I'm blessed.
Look like it.
I know I'm blessed every time I get a chance to wake up. You know what I mean? Because so much going on in the world, and I'm happy.
That's what's up. I do not believe that you're 56.
Nobody
You're the first
does.
guest that's older than me. So that's what's up.
Wow. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Maybe I might be able to tell you a little something. Huh?
Oh, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Wow. So where are you located, Kris?
I'm here in Lancaster, California. That's where I live at. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. So, being transgender in this community, it's been hard. I'm very popular. I know a lot of people. Always been popular. So okay. It's not been an easy road.
Okay. You might know my pops then. We talk about that offline, but yeah, my pops, he stayed in Lancaster for many years. So Kris, how did the name Kris choose you?
When I was young, let me just start where you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. I knew practically when I was born that I was in the wrong body. My mother knew it, but I was born in 1965. So, that was a time when the grandmother controlled the kids, even when they was grown, and so when I was 5, my mother always told me this story. When I was 5, I woke up on Christmas Day and she had me all this girly stuff. And she said, I cried. I said, I'm not a girl. I already knew. I told her, I said, I'm not a girl. I don't want nothing, no girl stuff. So she knew then. She supported me then, right? And so it wasn't really fashionable back then to be lesbian, gay, in the community where I lived at and the household that I lived in. But my mother supported me. And so I'll go back to the question, Kris. Okay, so I always wanted my mother. See, my real name was Muriel Marie Gardner. And I believe that was a generational curse because they made my mother name me that name. And my mother always wanted to name me Christian. right? And so I saw a guy speak at a meeting one day because I'm also involved in recovery. So I saw a guy, Tyler. I don't know if you know Tyler. Tyler passed away not too long ago, but Tyler' real name was Gloria. And then Tyler was speaking at this meeting about I think it was 2011, and Tyler was speaking at this meeting, and Tyler said, "Man, I told my family I'm a aggressive female, and I name my name Tyler. That's gonna be my real name." And I thought, wow, I don't have to be called Mimi no more because everybody called me Mimi. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna change my name to Kris. And I changed my name to Kris, and that's how I got Kris.
So Kris Wallace, do you got a middle
Kris
name?
Wallace. Yeah. So Wallace, I put in my bio about the generational curses of the family. So I'm not a Gardner. My name was Gardner. That's the guy that they made my mother marry when she was pregnant, right? They made her name me Muriel Marie Gardner. Made her marry the guy that she was dating because my mother was young. But what I am a product of rape from my mother. I'm okay with transparently talking about this now because I've cleaned my life up and I understand who I am now. And so when I found that out when I was 13, I I couldn't. I got on drugs. I was doing bad things. I hated myself. I didn't know where I was at. I was mad at the world. I was mad at my mom. I hung everybody on the cross. I hated everything and everybody. I was in a lot of toxic relationships. I was just trying to find peace in everything else besides myself, you know. And once I came to terms with that, once all those people started dying off and I came to terms with that and I got a mentor. Sometimes everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs someone to run their life by. But when I found somebody who broke me down and took me down and told me the real things about myself, I've been able to heal from all those generational curses, right? Because I thought I was a bad person because my father was a molester and a rapist. And the bad thing about it is a friend of the family, and I look just like I'm the only one that looks exactly. That's my twin. I'm the only one that looks exactly like him from his original kids with his wife. No, so it was a joke. Everybody knew except for me since I was young, and that hurt me. That hurt me bad. And my mother, my sweet mother, she loved me because she knew, and she loved me, and she begged for my forgiveness before she passed away. And I was still angry, and I was still on drugs, and I was still doing what I had to do for myself to survive. And and now, 20 some years later, I've been able to recover from all of that. I've been able to become Kris Wallace. I just got my rightful name back, my blood name. My mother is a Wallace. I have my family support. Uh, and so I'm Kris Wallace. And I'm living in my own blood. I'm living in my own dignity. I'm living in my own lifestyle, and I feel great.
Mm.
I feel great.
Sounds good. Where were you born?
I was born in Los Angeles, California.
So you were born in LA. Oh, okay.
Mhm. Born and raised.
When I'm thinking of like how you was describing, I'm like, oh, this is a Southern. Like it
Mhm.
seems like just that's what I think of when I think of like
Mhm.
Southern folk, big
Yeah.
families, forcing children to marry young age or like, because that
Mhm.
was my family from the South. So it's like my grandmother was married, I think like 13, 14 years old. So it's like when
Yeah.
when I think of that, I'm like, okay, but okay, from Los Angeles, I got you. So when your mother asked for your forgiveness, even though you were battling with addiction at that time, how were you able to accept her apology? Were you able to forgive her and extend some grace at that time?
Not wholeheartedly.
Mm.
No. I had a lot of resentments, but I love my mother because she loved me. My mother was the oldest of eight, and they traveled around the world, and all her siblings were stair step. So when she got pregnant with me at 17, although she had a boyfriend, but she had, when they came from Paris, and my grandfather got out the service, they split up, my grandmother and my grandfather. So my grandmother with her eight kids which my mother was the oldest, they ended up in Compton, and they had to stay with her best friend and her husband, which is my father. Is the man that was so the man of that house took my mom's virginity at 15 years old. And when she told me when I was 13, because she realized when I brought my school pictures home, she broke down and started crying. And I said, what's wrong? But other than that, my mother just always loved me. And I wonder why she always shook me. And she said, if anybody touched you, I mean, she would just wake up in the middle of the night and just randomly. And I beg her, I'm like, nobody's messing with me, nobody. But she loved me. She loved me to death. And she told her mother, she said, this is my baby. I want my own baby. And she had me. And so I've been able to embrace that now. But I went through a period where I was like, I would tell her things like, you should have just had an abortion with me, because I was hurt. I didn't know that I was suffering from hurt, trauma, pain. I didn't know that was my issue. So I didn't know how to be. But I kind of like manipulated her, like, I made her, I know she loved me and she wanted to make things up to me. So I kind of used that to my advantage to get what I wanted, you know, but she just, she just took care of me. But when she died, I could see all the good things that she did instill in me. Since I've been able to recover from these curses and live my best life, I've been able to forgive the man that birthed me. And that's the miracle. I've been able to forgive him. But what I did was I took all the great qualities about him and I looked at myself. He was a snazzy dresser. He was a cold hustler. He kept money. He kept a pretty woman. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of his qualities. I mean, I actually the same height. I'm 5'2". I look exactly like him. My mother was an educator, spoke 5 languages, traveled all around the world. I'm educated. I know how to read. I know how to write. I know how to work hard. So I have all their good qualities that I put it in me because guess what? At the end of the day, they're no longer here. So in order to make myself free in my own skin, I had to forgive them. And I did.
At what point in your life, like what point in your life did that forgiveness come? Like, do you remember it was a moment where you just like snapped and was like, oh, I forgive you? I know, because the only reason why I'm asking that is because I talked previously about me not loving my mother until I was in
Mm-hmm.
my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that just snapped. I think it was more so I want to say he was a mentor, but it was the older guy that I was talking to and helped me see why I should love my mother in that moment. So, but was there a moment for you when you was like, the forgiveness is right now? Like, was there anything that happened to you?
Actually, I had to work through what happened. Like I had to recognize my part in everything, and I didn't have a part because I was innocent at the time, right when I was young. But now that I'm an adult, my part is that I continue to allow this to fester, continue to allow myself to be angry over things that I have absolutely nothing. I can do absolutely nothing about it. So I had to change my way of thinking. And so it was put to me like as I was sitting down at the table with this person, helping me to rebuild my life. They told me, they said a man that can change his mind can change his life. So your thinking has to shift about what went on. I was like, wow. And she put it to me like this. It was this is what got me. And this was about for my mother. It was about I would say 2019, something like that, around up in there. And she said, "Do you really, really know what your mom went through?" And I was like, wow. I broke down. I said, I didn't. She said she loves you. Did you know really what she was going through from 15? Did you know all the stuff she had to go through with the parents and his wife and they named me Marie. My middle name was from the man's wife. It's all
Wow.
bad. It was all bad. She said, you got to take her down off the cross. She said, you took everybody and hung them up there like Jesus Christ. You got to take her down. And I broke down. It made me emotional now. And I took it down and I thought about her. And I was like, all she tried to do was love me. I didn't know what she was going through. I didn't. And that's when I just oh man, I forgive you. Like, I'm so sorry. And I just felt horrible. But I asked for forgiveness for that too. And I know that she takes care of me well. She lives through me, and she's so proud of me, because she loved me and she accepted me for exactly who I was, and what I was. And she knew exactly what I was. My mother was very smart. She knew.
So what would be your advice to someone that's listening, that's looking for that pathway to forgiveness? What would you say to someone that's hoping to forgive a parent or someone that wronged them in their life, or that they feel that anger and that resentment towards?
I don't like pain. Some people get conditioned to being in pain, and thoughts of rebellion and resentment and fear. Fear has a lot to do with a lot of the reason why we don't change. Forgiveness is there for the taking, but it's hard because I'm so hurt, because I'm thinking in a selfish way. It's all about me. You know what you did to me? Why would you do this to me and you're my mother? Guess what? If you're my mother, I don't know how it is to be my mother, right? So I need to, if I want to be free, I need to forgive. I need to. It's a must. And I'll tell everybody, just like my mentor told me, take them down. You got them hung up there like Jesus, they did Jesus Christ. Take them down. Take them down. And just forgive them. And you believe in the forgiveness. Whether they are the same, you still are better because you have changed your way of thinking about what they did, what they are, and what they're still doing, maybe. It's okay. It's okay. Because guess what? I'm free and it don't bother me no more. Because some parents are not gonna ever they're living parents. I hear stories all the time, and some parents just don't like their kids. And I don't know. I don't know about that. My mother loved me, but I had to get through my issues for my existence. See, my story is a little bit intricate because of my existence. Everybody knew it. I felt ostracized, put down, talked about, but I always been so strong. I just, you know, I had to learn how to channel my energy. And so I just forgive. I do it today too. I do it today. I still have people walk up to me and they be like, "So what we calling you now?" And I've been transit for about 10 years almost. And I just, I used to get mad. But I don't know more. I just be like, man, they don't get it. But it don't stop nothing over here. Cause I'm moving, I'm traveling. You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm happy.
So you said you transitioned 10 years ago. So you're 56 now. So you
Mm-hmm.
transitioned at 46. So
Mm-hmm.
much later in life, and
Much
also
later
much
in life.
later than I transitioned, because started to transition in my 30s.
Oh
So
yeah.
tell us about your transition story. Like, how did it start at 46 years old to where you
Uh,
are now?
I hated breasts. I've always hated the body that I was in. I knew it was something different about me. I've always, every relationship I've ever been in was with a heterosexual woman. I never been with a lesbian woman. I never considered myself lesbian labels, like that. I knew. I knew I was a guy. I knew it. I just knew it. That's why when people say nowadays, "Oh, it's a fad. Oh, these kids don't know what to." No, if you know it, you know it. It's in you, And so I got into this fraternity situation, LGBT fraternity, and I was asked to pledge this one fraternity, And so I pledged, and so I went to a little kickback, whatever they had. We went to like LA Live, had lunch and stuff. So I'm sitting across the table from this person who I knew was a guy, was born a guy, right? And come to find out, he was transgender. I had never in my life been up close and personal. Remind you, I live on the West Coast. It's not as prevalent on the West Coast as it then and now too, as it is on the in the South, right? And so I'm looking at this guy, and this guy reveals that he's transgender. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, really? I'm like, how did you do that? I had no idea. I really had no idea. I mean, I've heard of it, but I never came up close and personal with anybody like that. And I was like, it was like I went to I'm gonna give you this number, call the LGBT Center. I was like, okay, in Hollywood. I was like, okay. So I called, I got an appointment, and I began counseling. And then I got on testosterone, and I was like, whoa, and I began to change. And I had previously begun to lose a lot of weight because I was a diabetic, and they told me I'm a diabetic, and they told me if I don't lose weight, then I could possibly, die because my sugar was high. I went from I'm like 170 now. I used to be 263. 263 pounds. So I did that, and then when I got on testosterone, I was like, oh, okay. I started kind of like feeling my rightful self. I was like, oh, yeah, this is it. And so I was hoping that I would never grow hair because I like the smooth baby face look, right? And then I started growing hair everywhere. And then I started changing. My features started changing. And so people started looking at me, and I was happy. I was happy to be who I was. So the people that I knew, some people that I loved, that I really loved, some longtime friends, and some people that I really, really cared about, they started talking. They started treating me different. And I remember one day I got my top done in 2018. So I waited because although I had larger breasts, I was working out a lot, and you couldn't barely see them, and I had lost a lot of weight. And so I just noticed the people around me, because when I think that I'm living my best life and I'm happy, I don't realize that other people is looking at me like crazy, because they saw me practically grow up. I'm talking about long time friends and long time people. But guess what? One thing that I had in my favor, my family is so on board. My family, all the men, all the women, all the cousins, everybody. They said, we don't care. We love you anyway. Because you're still the same person. You just got a little beard. And I'm like, okay, that's one thing that I have in my favor that a lot of people don't have in their favor who decide to do this. And I get it, but you still got to know who you are. So I that's when I began, when I found that. And so now it's been on the dating scene. It's been different. You know, I get a lot of people that wanted to be curious, a lot of straight women that's married, and I tell them, you don't want none of this. You don't want none of this smoke. Just stay over there and make that work. You know, you don't want none of this right here. We're not doing this no more. Maybe about 35 years ago or 20 years ago, I would have did that, but we're not doing this no more, because I owed it to myself to be free and happy. I owed it to myself, you know, for God to send me the person that He had for me, and I've been with that person for about 9 months now, and I'm gonna marry her, because she accepts me for exactly as she, and her friends and her family, they looked at her like, "What you doing?" you know, so I still get ostracized and a little stigma, but on my jobs, I go right in there, I let them know. I don't have to let them know now because my ID has changed, my name has changed legally, and my gender has changed, so I don't have to tell them nothing no more if I go to another job. But since I had this job, I transitioned in front of them, and they know they can't mess with that, you know. So yeah, so that's what I knew that I did, and I got a great doctor, and I'm healthy. My sugar is good, I'm just living my best life. I'm letting my hair grow because I can't stop it from growing. I be shaving, but it still keep growing. So I told my baby, I said, I'm just gonna let that. I'm just gonna let it grow.
Yeah. Hey, this is Sean Aaron. I'm the founder and executive director of Them Boys Inc. I am also the host of Them Boys Podcast. As you may know, Them Boys provides financial assistance to trans men of color in order for them to obtain gender affirming surgery. We have great news. We're currently looking for volunteers to help support our programs. Our programs include our gender affirming surgery grant program and also our personal care package program. We personally curate packages filled with personal hygiene items. Just to name a few, things like tissue, soap, towels, toothpaste, and toothbrushes. We mail them out to trans men of color across the country who may be in need of help caring for their personal hygiene needs. We are looking for volunteers to help raise funds to support our programs. Also, we're looking for someone locally to the Bay Area to help us put all of the care packages together. If our mission is something that resonates with you and you would like to help support our work, just let us know. You can send an email to hello@themboys.org. That is HELLO@DEMBOIS.org. And we will get back to you with further details. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the next episode. I see you got some gray in there too. I love that.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah. I always was like, if I start getting some gray in mine, I'm gonna let it grow out. But I don't. I don't see no gray yet either.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
coming,
on
man. I
gray.
got it all. It's all on my sideburns right here,
Yeah.
right here. Oh yeah, yeah. It get longer gray. I just trim it down some, but they get longer gray. But yeah, that's what happened. It was just like timing was perfect in my life. When I look back, everything happened in great timing. You know, because I'm a Scorpio. I'm intense, so I always want what I want when I want it and how I want it. But I had to fall back. I had to allow to see. I have the spirit of God in me, and a lot of people don't like to talk about this, and they look at me crazy when I do. Well, how do you think God loves you for doing that? He gave you breast. I said God knew who I was gonna be before I was born. Because he knew that I had an assignment to do. He knew that he needed me to go into places that were taboo, where people wouldn't normally want to go. And he made it to where I can go anywhere and be around anybody and speak in front of anybody. I've been in London with the recovery and I've spoken in front of 300 people. I've done it here at a convention. I'm asked to speak all kind of places. I did it at the LGBT for trans community. I don't mind speaking out about what's real. Nobody's living under a rock today. We are made in his perfect image. Trust me. So I was going through a period about 2 years ago where I was losing some friends, you know, and the more and more I looked on the outside like a male, and I carried myself like that, a lot of people was talking about me. A lot of people was. I just felt bad one day, and I was sitting on my porch, and I cried, and I cried, and I asked God. I got mad at God for me. I said, "Why me?" I said, "Why me?" And let me tell you how quick He worked. About 15 minutes later, my Facebook it dinged me for a message, and it was a lady that been on my Facebook for years, heterosexual woman. She'd never been, she was very very cool with me. She said, "Kris, can I please talk to you for a second?" And I said, "Yes." I gave her my number. She called me. She said, "Kris, I've been watching your journey. I love you to death. I love your walk, your journey." She said, "But I need your help." I said, "Okay, what's going on?" She said, my niece lives in Hawaii and she's 13 and she refuses to go to school because she told her parents that she is not a girl, that she is a boy, and she don't want to wear girl clothes." And I put her on a mute. I said, "Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for confirming my existence here.
Mm.
And I know the work that you want me to do." And man, it just started flowing. He just started giving me people calling me and asking me, well, you know, I got so and so. Well, you know, my kid is like this. Well, you know, this is and that. And I've been helping people in that area to understand who their child is. And I got my answer that, and he just confirmed it. He just like, don't worry about it. I got you, Kris. He let me do whatever. I want to change my name. Go ahead. He made it easy. You know, I want a wife. I don't want to be judged by that. He made it easy. We got a lot of the same qualities. Her family loves me. I love my family. Her family merged in. They was looking at her for a minute like, what? Everything. He makes it look easy.
That's powerful,
man.
And I think you may be one of the first guests that to bring God and spirituality into this. And so what I want to ask you is how, so for folks so for me personally, I'm gonna speak on myself. I'm gonna say I had a spat with God. So I say, me and God, we ain't cool, because I felt like if God had my back, and I felt if God had my back, I was at church since I was 2. My mother would have never kicked me out. I would have never been homeless. I would have never went through all these things. So I said, so my relationship with God per se, I'm not really religious. I'm more of a spiritual person now, but my relationship was kind of torn because of my life experiences. And I was in that same place of like, why me? So what I would like to say, how do you integrate that into your life with your journey, your transition, and with God? How do you, for folks that are wondering, like, I want to have a relationship with God, how do I do that?
Just go back to your teachings. You said you was in church, right?
Yeah, I was.
You was in church. He don't make no mistake if you know about God, right? But see, what happens is the religion, see, there's a difference between religion and spirituality, right? See, we get to have a God of our own understanding and build a relationship with that God, right? We don't put no demands on the power. Oh, how could you? How could you do me? Remember, God is busy. He busy. He didn't do you. He didn't do me. He made me the way he made me because he knew that he was going to need me. And when I got that concept through extensive prayer, asking for forgiveness, repenting, but I don't have to follow your religion. I'm allowed to have the God of my own understanding, which I believe is love. And I believe that he made me. If that was the case, I would never have the riches that I have. If I would never be able to pray and ask God to bless me and receive the blessings that I've received. I will never be able to go anywhere where any free man can go, where you knew me as Mimi, now you know me as Kris. Who can do that but God? Who can give you the podcast to reach out to other people and do what you have to do for yourself? God. It ain't us. Because in and of ourselves and by ourselves, we not capable. We not. So I have to look at where he been taking care of me. Even when I didn't want to be taken care of. He been taking care of me. Because guess what? A lot of kids nowadays, they are not introduced to God. And I thank my mama that she introduced me to God. I had to go to church. And when I was glad when church wasn't mandatory in our house. I was like 15, I think about 15. It was one Sunday. My mama said, "You not going to church?" I said, "Do I have to?" I said, "Well, I've been going to church all the time, every Sunday for a long time." She said, "You don't have to go." And that's when I stopped going to church. But I had to go back to my childhood faith in order to receive what God had for me as an adult. God knows. He knew who I was. He knew who we were. He knows what we are. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people be on the bandwagon, but that's their story. But when you know that you know that you know, it's up to you to change your way of thinking about the past. Because guess what? I don't know how my mama feel about gays and lesbians really in her mind. All I do is see how she feel about me. And I need to let people and allow people to be exactly who they are. If not, I'll go to my grave trying to wonder why this, why that, why they do this, why they think like that. Not my business. Not my business. My business is forgiving and allowing people to be exactly who they are. Real talk. And
Yeah.
that's what freed me up.
Mm. I was just about to ask you that. That's where your peace come from and your
Yeah,
happiness come from, right? And stepping
man.
into your purpose.
Hmm. And he got it. He got it for me. It's there for the taking. You know what I mean? So this is a really good platform. I'm honored. Who would ever thought? Who would have thought? I go into places where people don't want to go. And God made me like that. He let me know every time I want to shut down. I've been depressed before. I've been depressed. I know what depression feels like. I know what going to see a therapist, and I am a counselor. I know what going to see a therapist is like, but it's all a part of the growing pains of growing into your authentic self. Do I spend my whole life worried about things that I can't do absolutely people that I cannot do absolutely nothing about? Or do I accept it and know what it is, and move on and live my best life? Like I said, I'm 56. I'll be 57 in November. 3 years away, that's fast. I'll be hitting 60. All I want to do is drive my Challenger, go on trips with my baby, work an honest day's work, save my money, credit is good, and smile and live my life. At this point, I have absolutely nothing else to do and help where I can. If my story helps somebody, then I'm batting 1,000. It's truth. It's real. And it's what happened. And this is God. I look at this as a blessing because I get to put it out there and help the masses. You know about that in church. Your purpose is helping the masses of people that need you. And don't ever forget that. They can't do nothing to you. Them people back there, them parents, they can't do nothing to you at this point. And you can't allow it.
Wow, that's definitely powerful. Definitely. You're not just speaking to the audience, you're speaking to me too. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're a counselor. Speak more about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been doing counseling. I was doing it. Because I'll be 22 years sober next month, right? So when I got here in Lancaster, I came up here looking for money. See, my mother died 8 months before I came here, and my mother was my best friend. She was my go-to. You know what I'm saying? That was the one person in this world I knew that loved me. She died the a day before my birthday. I was having a party, and my sister was over there dropping the kids off. So she come to my party, my nieces and my nephews off, and she called me. She said, Mama, the ambulance is coming. Mama's passed out on the floor. And I was like, oh, okay. By the time we got over there, I went to Brockman Hospital. She was DOA. Hurt me to my soul. That was the only person that I've ever felt that loved me in this world. She showed me love, even with my hurt and my pain. She knew I was in pain. She was a very smart woman, and she just loved me anyway. And 8 months, I went on an 8-month mission to kill myself with drugs, alcohol. I lost everything that I had built up. My first career, I built all the 105 freeways. My first career was construction. And I gave that up. I sold my soul to the streets because I was in so much pain. I just wanted to die and lay down with my mother because I felt like I had nobody in this world. And then God came and that's why I believe in God. He resurrected me. He said, I know how I'm going to get you out your environment. I'm going to tell you that you're going to get some money somewhere else. So he did that. I had been up getting high, and the girl that I was dating, I took her hostage with me, and I was getting high for like 4 days straight, exhausting her account. I was turned into a monster. And then at one moment, I had a moment of clarity, and she looked at me and she was crying. She said, I gotta go. I said, you can go. I let her go, and it was her car. I let her go, and I got on the bus, and I went back to my mother's house where I had been living with her before she died. But my sister moved in with all her kids. And when I got to the house, my sister looked and she said, you gotta go. I had been in the daze for so long. My homeboy, he came out the room with his shirt off. He was with my sister. I said, oh, you fucking my sister now? Oh, I didn't mean to be cuss on here, but
No,
I
it's
said,
all right.
oh, you fucking my sister? I said, oh, fuck. So I went off. I went crazy. I just went crazy. And they was like, oh, all the people start coming out like, your mom wouldn't want you guys arguing. And my sister was arguing. The only sister I got, my mother only had 2 kids. Arguing with her, F you, you only my sister. Guess what? And then a miracle happened. The phone rang. It was a friend of mine that I hadn't talked to in about 9 months that I did construction work with. And I'm really good. I was really, really good at cutting intricate pieces of cutting, doing the wood. And my friend called and said, hey, I bought a house in Palmdale. Mind you, I've never been to the Antelope Valley, Lancaster, Palmdale in my life. My friend said, I bought a house in Palmdale and I want you to help me fix this fence. I said, well, how much is going to pay? She was like, 400. I said, can you come? You gonna come get me now? So I really started talking mess to my sister. I said, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna take me a shower. And I was just cussing and doing all kind of stuff. And the kids was looking at me. And I was like, yeah, I've been doing what I want to do. And blah, blah, don't nobody care about me, blah, 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 blah. Mind you, I'm 34 years old. 34 years old. I'm grown. And I go in there and I change my clothes. My friend pull up and then I walk to the car and something said, go get your clothes. But I did it like this. This is another miracle. I said, can I wash my clothes at your house? By this time, I had dwindled down. They were stealing my clothes. I used to have everything. I didn't know where nothing was. And I had, I had a couple of bags of clothes, a backpack that I had little gadgets in. I got my stuff. I threw it in the back of my friend's truck. God said, take your stuff because you ain't coming back. Right? So I get to drive and we get to Santa Clarita. It's hot. I've been up for 4 days. I'm thinking about this money, right? I'm thinking about I don't have nowhere to live now. I ain't got my mama. Now I gotta think of something. My mind is ticking. We get to Santa Clarita. I said, bro, where did you buy a house at and why? This is far. She was like, we not there yet. Like what? So we get to Palmdale, and man, we get the wood and get all the stuff from Home Depot. When I'm over there, I'm working because I got to get this money, man. I got a plan. I got to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. My plan was like, I'm gonna go downtown. I'm gonna try to get me something to sell, and that's what I'm a street dude, so I'm gonna get me something to sell. And God said, no, you're not. An angel came by the house. I'm working. And this is a true story. Angel came by. It was a young lady came by to drop her kid off because my friend's girlfriend did daycare. So she dropped the kid off and my friend said, dang, you look good. What you been doing? She said, I got 60 days. I just graduated Tarzana Treatment Center. And mind you, I had been to a couple of programs before. And I know about Tarzana. And something said, get the number. And I got the number and I said, do you have a number? And I started crying. I started jumping up and down. I was like, I told my friend, look at me. Like, I just I couldn't take it no more. I was like, God, please help me. I said, help me. And my friend just started hugging me. And I was like, I called the number. Now, mind you, God had a sense of humor because Palmdale is farther than Lancaster. He said, I'm going to put you way in the boonies in 2000. So he put me. So I called the number and Charlotte, the lady that answered the phone, she don't work there now, but that's one of my best friends. And I'm crying. She was like, stop crying. And I'm crying. I said, help me, just help me, please. I need help. And they took me in there, signed me up for 90 days, but they kept me for a year because I had to learn. They kept me for a year. At 11 months, I was mad. They wouldn't let me give no job or nothing. It was only, and I said, this is only a 90-day program. Why y'all let everybody else go? And they would get in the room, all the counselors, and they'd close the book. And then at 11 months, I cussed all of them out. I said, man. And then Teresa, the counselor, she said, if you walk out the door, don't come back. So I walked to the door and I put my hand on the doorknob and I said, damn, where am I go? And I turned around and I broke down. And the counselor caught me afterwards and they said, look, here's the thing. We see more in you than you can ever see in yourself. That's why we keep you. That's why we don't let you go, because you have to learn something. They say you don't want to take care of none of the kids because you biologically didn't have no children, so you don't want to do child care. Child care gonna help you, you know. I said okay. And then the other counselor told me just act as if, and then you running around here, you messing around with all these girls in here, and then you making them go crazy and lose their mind. We know you messing with them, but we can't prove it. I said okay. You fraternizing. I said okay. Then you walk around here and you act like your shit don't stink. But we see something in you. And that's when I started changing. That's when I changed. Went to a transitional living 15 months, and I've been here in Lancaster the whole time. Whole time, life better, excellent credit. Had 2 addresses, 2 phone numbers since I got a phone here. I've had numbers, jobs after jobs after jobs. I worked 2 jobs at one time. I built a counseling career. I was doing counseling at the group homes, doing groups and up and acting and go to other little programs and doing it for my own personal recovery. But I didn't know that I was doing counseling. So I was working at Transgender Treatment Center in the Valley down there in LA as a tech overnight. And the clients used to always say, Mimi, they used to call me Mimi. They used to like, I want Mimi to be my counselor. And then I heard one of the counselors say, Mimi ain't no fucking counselor. She can't be your counselor. And I said, bet. So I resigned and I went to school and I put myself through counseling school. So I'm a counselor. So you will never be able to say that to me no more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I started getting paid what I was already doing, getting paid for what I was already doing. But being, I left there and I left there because I was commuting and they wasn't paying enough money. So I went and started building buses, right here 5 minutes from my house at BYD. I did that for a year because I had that resume for that because I'm a builder. So I went back to Tarzana as a case manager and a counselor in Woodland Hills. And that was the last time I worked there. And then they moved me up here. I got a $2 raise in 10 months, and they told me how to do all the money and stuff. And so I came up here 7 minutes from my house in Lancaster, the one that I went through. And I was so happy to be at my alma mater after 20 years. And I got up here, and these counselors wasn't receptive to one. They wasn't receptive to my transitioning. They wasn't receptive to me still having my legal name, Muriel, but going by Kris. But they were sending emails. They were talking about me. They were putting me down, but I was doing a lot of work and I was making them do their work. I was sort of like checking everybody's files, calling them, not really calling them on it, but addressing it. Okay, so you opened this episode and this is not like this. And I was just doing my job. So they stressed me out to the point of stressivity. And I was like, you know what? I said, I can't mess with these people, man. But I was bored in 2019 and I knew the people at the truck driving school. So I was off work for a while and I just was bored and I went and got my Class A license and I never used it. So in this past December, my brother bought 4 trucks and he was like, let me just ask you a question. What you going to do with that license you got? I said, I'm not going cross country. I'm not driving in the snow and I'm not doing none of that. So I'm not going to do nothing with it. He was like, why don't you come work for me down in Long Beach at the ports? I go work for him a couple of days. He don't want to pay me. I said, you don't want to pay me? Look at all that money you got. He said, no, I got you. I get you. I said, man, You got me coming way down here and you don't want to pay me. I was mad at first, but I did. And I said, I came back on and said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use him for training. And I went down there and I trained with him for about 4 months. And then the first trucking company I called hired me. I said, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you as soon as I get my training because you teach me bad habits and you don't want to pay me. So now I drive for JB Hunt, the big 99-cent store trucks that you see running around. That be me. I go up north. I go to Arizona. I just got back from Tracy. I'm probably going back up to the border of Mexico, San Diego. I do 3 loads a week and make pretty good money. Got my own little truck assigned to me, my own boss. I don't have to worry about nobody over my shoulder. As long as I get back safe, don't hit nothing, I'm good.
Sounds good. Like I feel like in the beginning you said your life followed a certain path and you was in the right place at the right time. I just like hearing your story. That's true. Like everything, I think it's a testimony to folks too. In the moment, it seemed like things ain't gonna work out. But then when you look down the road, you're like, damn, it actually worked out. So what is your advice to somebody that's like, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in this place. I want to get to the end result at this point. I'm tired of going through. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of relying on substances, all of this stuff. What would be your advice for someone?
Key word is being tired. You got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. You can think of something where we'll take drugs out the equation. Sometimes I get sick and tired of being sick and tired of trying to control a situation. And it don't work. It's like me trying to put a triangle into a circle. You know them little blocks?
Yeah.
I'm like, why it ain't working? Because it ain't supposed to, fool. You know what I'm saying? Oh, when I get that concept, okay, I get it now. But I'm going to try to make it work. But I got to get sick and tired in my own self. See, everything that happens to me, it begins and it ends with me. It don't got nothing to do with you. I want to say it do. You know why? Because I don't want to take the blame for nothing. I don't want to look at myself. Yeah, it's easier. It's easier. So when you start looking at yourself, you begin to change. Just look at yourself. What are you willing to put up with and what are you not willing to put up with? Are you comfortable in your thinking, in your everyday, in your skin, in the people you around? Are you angry most of the time? That don't got nothing to do with nobody. That got to do with you. How do I get out of it? I accept the truth about who I am and what I'm doing. I change my concepts on things. I change my perception. I change my thinking per situations. Okay, it's like that. All right. I can't deal with it. I'm not built for that.
That's so good. It's so true. And I think when I was talking earlier about kind of an older mentor that mentored me back in the day, that was exactly the advice that he gave me, not verbatim, but what he told me was you can't change everybody else around you because most people are set in their ways. He said the only way for your life to change is it starts with you. And in that moment, it was like it was almost like an epiphany. And from that moment, I did change. I changed a lot of stuff about me. In my 20s, people probably wouldn't even like me. I was angry, I was aggressive, I was just all of these things. And then I had to think what he told me. I sat with that for a minute. And that was how I started talking to my mother again. It was like I had to change. People ain't gonna change. I can't control what other people do, but I can control what I do, and I can control how I feel. So that's such good advice, Kris.
Man,
thank you for that.
that's real, man. That's real, man. I mean, I can't tell you that. Am I perfect? No. Do I still have things that I want to make happen on my own? Yes. But when it becomes unbearable, I say, oh, that ain't what God wants for me. Because I suffer sometimes from an agnostic temperament. That's when people believe in God, but then sometimes you don't. Because you want it to go your way. God, don't you see that I need this to go my way? But my ways, it's not his ways. It's not.
So
It's not. It's not. So I bow down like a little puppy,
Hmm.
and I go back and I say, okay, thank you. I'm gonna rely and depend upon you, and you always come through, always, always. And I get moments of pure happiness, and I don't fear failure.
Thank you, Kris. Appreciate that. This
You're
is
welcome.
good. Good.
You're welcome. I appreciate you. Anytime you need me for anything, I'm here. And he made it to where my phone don't ring unless it's purposeful. He don't put me around people that's gonna harm me. If he do, he let me recognize it so I can move out the way.
So you can get up out of there.
Yeah.
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 So Kris, this is the part of the show where I like to ask guests a random question. So I got list of questions. It's always growing, but for now it's still the same. I got 23 questions. And
Wow.
so it may or may not have anything to do with what we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
So just pick a number between 1 and 23, and I'll read you that question.
Well, my birthday's 11/22. I'll pick number 11 first.
Number 11. All right. So number 11, this is good for you, I think. It says, what is your dream vacation? Where do you want to go?
Right now, my dream vacation is Greece or Punta Cana. I done been everywhere. I done been to Cabo, Hawaii. I go. I get out of here. Yeah, I go. So my
So
dream vacation. I done been to Italy abroad. So it's either Paris or Greece.
my dream vacation, I don't know. Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted Australia was always my favorite place, but I ain't never been there. So I think
Yeah.
that's my dream vacation is to go to Australia.
Yeah, you want to see all them kangaroos? Why? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I want to go there, but one day I'll go there.
Yeah, I'm more a tropical person. I like beachy
Okay.
tropical stuff. Yeah.
Kris, thank you for being a guest on the show. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story.
No problem.
All right. Take care.
You too, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Once again, I'm your host. My name is Sean Aaron. Be sure to like, be sure to share this show out with folks in your networks. If you would like to connect with us, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can also visit our website at demboys.org. That's DEMBOIS.org. If you think you will make a great guest on the show, or maybe you have a question for myself or a future guest that you would like to hear answered on the show, please send an email to hello@themboys.org. That's HELLO@themboys.org. Until next time, take care.